Welcome in the latest episode of the Betting Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, real underscore G Warner. Tonight's episode, we're going through just the Europa League, the second leg of the knockouts of the quarterfinal stage. Find some best bets. We'll get an ultimate best bet coming end of show. Got four matches to discuss. One that was played Wednesday last week, three on Thursday, all starting on Thursday this week. And I'll go through the game numbers, the spread totals, also the two advances, and try to get us some winners before we close this show out. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/real underscore G Warner. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, do so Betting the Pitch, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify, at the real underscore G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram, especially if you want the 1 minute reels, shorts of the ultimate best bet pick coming end of show. So we'll move to the first matchup. We have 11:45 Central Time start, 11:45 Eastern Time. Celta de Vigo, they are hosting Sport Club Freiburg, as I'm wearing a Freiburg kit a long time ago, the first one I ever bought. And it's amazing how far they are in this competition. I will say I did not expect a very good performance against a really strong Celta de Vigo defense, but Freiburg were great. They took a 3-0 lead into the second leg on the road at Celta de Vigo. Current numbers are total at 2.5, a little bit more juice to over. Spread is Celta de Vigo a half a goal favorite, which to me, honestly, is still pretty cheap. They need to win by 3 goals just to force extra time. Sport Club Freiburg are going to be celebrating at the final whistle if they lose by 1 or 2 goals. They're only a half a goal underdog. And for me, that's a really awkward position to be in for a road underdog. So, Celta Vigo as a favorite seem like a big change based on how they performed last week, but they're only a quarter goal underdog on the road at Sport Club Freiburg. And honestly, I really like their chances. Thought they were going to play really well defensively. Didn't score, which I guess I wasn't super surprised about, but got, I think, a little bit unlucky by a Vincenzo Grifo goal early, then conceded the first Europa League or any European goal to Jan Nicolas Besta, who lives outside the box for pretty much all of his time. But he scored an empty netter basically on a good pass from Matanovic. And honestly, then I think it was Ginta who scored again, one of the big center backs. So you could argue that all those goals were kind of unexpected or maybe weren't deserved, but Celta Vigo scoring 0 and conceding 3 in their first leg of this quarterfinal to reach the Europa League semifinals is not a good sign, not a good look, and they got a long way to go. For that reason, I think I'm less interested in backing Sport Club Freiburg because they basically just need to sit deep and defend. That would generally mean at under 2.5 makes a little bit more sense, but I think Celta de Vigo, who have been great defensively, and honestly, I was really hoping for a sluggish first leg, not only for my bets, but also for the second leg that would pretty much repeat that. But this should be an open game, at least from a Celta de Vigo perspective. That should be good for Freiburg to score goals. So I think my biggest interest is over 2.5 in that early start in the Europa League. Two advanced numbers before I move on. We have Celta de Vigo plus 910 to move through. So $100 US will win you 910 if they somehow find a way to avenge a 3 goal deficit and advance. It's a significant jump, 115%, which seems ridiculous based on where we are. But that's what happens when a favorite of minus 137 Celta de Vigo changed to a underdog of plus 910. Sport Club Freiburg, they closed an underdog a lot because the second leg was going to be on the road, but they won by so much in the first leg. They went from plus 107 to minus 1600 at BetOnline, a pretty significant difference. Moving next to the big window of matches at 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll start with the English Premier League's Nottingham Forest hosting La Liga Portugal's FC Porto. Current number to advance. I guess I'll recap it the same way I did that last one rather than jumping ahead. So click back to the other side. So we have a 1-1 draw in the first leg. We had an FC Porto taking a lead at home, as you would kind of expect or hope based on a home team playing in their building at the Stadio de Dragao. But that 1-0 lead was pretty quickly turned to a equalizer when a young wingback decided to pass the ball back to his goalkeeper, who maybe wasn't really expecting it, but you're not supposed to kick it into the goal or anywhere near where the goal could be. And it went straight in from about the halfway mark, and all of a sudden it was 1-1, and that was the last goal that was scored. Not great for the under because a lot of people were betting for it to be a very low scoring game, including yours truly. And unfortunately, it was not great. I guess it was good for Nottingham Forest backers who were plus one half a goal in that first leg. They had to cover based on not even scoring themselves after falling behind. Total closed 2 that ended up pushing. So Yeah, kind of amazing. Probably Porto deserved the money considering they scored an actual goal themselves. But those sort of things happen in this crazy, beautiful game, as they call it. But as for getting ready for the second leg, FC Porto currently are a quarter goal underdog with all the juice right now on the road at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest. Total in this one's 2.25, juiced very heavily to under. So again, not expecting a lot of goals. And I think what we were hoping for, at least I was hoping for, in the Sport Club Freiburg and Celta de Vigo matchup, looks like we have that here in this one with Nottingham Forest hosting FC Porto. Now, Forest have basically had an incredibly poor record of maintaining their managers and keeping them in their jobs, a lot due to the owner, it seemed, and then it seemed like his sporting director, or at least management below the owner. Maybe that was the story that was leaked, but it's like their third or fourth manager of the season if you count caretakers. And I don't know that I believe in Vitor Pereira. So yes, he's had success, I guess you could say, in the Gulf leagues, but and I think came from Portugal originally. But FC Porto, they have a lot of talent. They just don't have the budget that Nottingham Forest do, and so that's the big question here. Quarter goal seems really, really expensive for FC Porto right now, especially looking like it's going to fall to pick 'em. I'm not sure that's enough for me in this type of scenario. Total at 2.25 is probably my biggest interest in this matchup, just to see another low-scoring game with both teams that are going to play to do their best to try to find a way to make it to the semifinals. It's going to be a long, grueling road, but certainly the City Ground crowd will help. We'll see if Nottingham Forest, who basically earned a Europa League bid by conceding possession and counterattacking last season, I think Porto will be interested in having the ball. They scored a lot of goals in Europa League this season. Have been a more offensive team than we've seen in previous days when they were doing really well, previous seasons when they're doing really well in the Champions League, just letting you have the ball and trying to use their talent to spring counterattacks. I don't know that's going to be the same way. Nottingham Forest is also a little bit more aggressive because they can't be any less as the most conservative manager in the Premier League, or one of the top three was there in Nuno Espirito Santo last season. Just don't see a lot of goals in the matchup. So under 2.25 looks very interesting, though it could fall to two before kickoff, and we'll get another potential push on that second goal. Two advanced numbers: Nottingham Forest minus 142 to Porto's plus 122. We saw FC Porto open as a favorite with their home first leg at home, minus 125 to minus 105 on Nottingham Forest. It ended up flipping to Nottingham Forest, a minus 120 favorite, minus 110 on the Porto side. So that says something to me that there was some belief in Nottingham Forest. They didn't do anything that first leg. So it almost makes me understand why this number is making Porto a really small underdog. But for me, I don't know if there's enough for me there. I'm very curious to see if the UK money marketplace that usually dictates where the continental matchups go, if there's a UK team in it, expect them to get bet. I do expect that to occur. I'm expecting Porto to become a much more reasonably priced quarter goal underdog on the road. I just don't think we'll get to a half, and that might be the key number for me. Move to the next game on the list. That's Aston Villa hosting Bologna. Speaking of UK teams, as the English Premier League's Aston Villa, at one point in the title race, and that kind of fell by the wayside. Maybe because they're playing Europa League and were trying to play in multiple competitions. Maybe it's because their roster seemingly turned over completely in the first half at the January transfer deadline. Not sure that's a great idea, but it happened, and here we are. They honestly took a 2-0 lead against Bologna, conceded one, and then scored on almost the last kick of the match. Ollie Watkins on a corner kick where seemingly no one decided to mark the striker on the other team. Didn't make any sense to me. But Bologna, it just feels like they've had a really good team this year and in previous years, but ultimately had maybe too many tough matches, and it kind of wore them down a bit. Is what it kind of seems like to me. I don't know that I necessarily believe that Bologna can come back from a 3-1 deficit. It's a huge, huge number, and they're on the road going to a really tough place to play at Villa Park. Now, current spread: Aston Villa 1-goal favorites at home, a little bit more juice. Total in this one is 2.75 juice more to the over, and I think that's because Bologna need to at least win 2-0 in regulation to force extra time. I don't think that's likely to happen here. But as a full goal underdog, I mean, they just need to lose by a single goal and you push, draw, and you win the match, and don't even get to extra time, you win. So there's a lot of good scenarios there for backing Bologna, and I did like them in the first leg. So I'm a little bit concerned about a Serie A side heading on the road to England. Hasn't gone great for them in the past years, though. Honestly, Italy was really good last year in competitions across the continent. Not so much this year, as no one's in the Champions League, and unfortunately, it was a really rough run for a lot of teams, especially my Champions League pool list, which had Juventus and Inter Milan in the same way. Also in Europa League, it had Roma. So it was not great for me with a lot of Italian teams based on how well they did last year and probably where my draft position was. But ultimately, 2 3/4 is interesting. I think I probably like that +1 on Bologna the best because they're going to be trying to score goals, and I don't really want to split win the +1 on Bologna if they score a bunch and if the game goes over. So that's probably where I'm leaning most. I probably need this to hit 3 to even consider looking at under, and it's probably not where I want my money to be. So +1 Bologna at Aston Villa looks most interesting to me. As for the two advanced number, Bologna moved from +233 to +1550, an increase of almost 85%. I think I need to do my math again because I'm not sure I trust that, but incredible increase. Though Aston Villa started -317, a lot because of the second leg being at home. They're now -5,000, so $5,000 to win 100 simple United States dollars. I don't know who's backing that, but I'm certainly not interested in that and don't think you can parlay it. So I'm not even sure there's a way to make that better. Next, we'll move to the last matchup on the list. We'll get an ultimate best bet coming end of show right after this. We'll go to Real Betis of Sevilla in Spain. They're hosting Sporting Braga of Portugal, another Portuguese team. It's been a good year for them, and probably will see more of those competition in the competitions next year in Europe, which I think is good for spreading the wealth around. Potentially might see more from Liga Portugal. So currently, Real Betis, they drew the first leg on the road at Braga, 1-1, tiny stadium. Now they go to La Cartuja, which is also going to host the Spanish Copa del Rey final in a week or so, a couple weeks, some point this season. Real Betis are a great offensive team. They have a great manager, grandfather, Abuelo, Chilean. Pellegrini's been awesome for that club and has really done a great job of balancing competitions. Sporting Braga have been really disappointing to me on the continental level, but have done much better this season than they have in the past. Real Betis currently a half a goal favorite at home in a 1-1 on aggregate. So this matchup will determine everything. More juice on the Real Betis side, a lot because they're at home, and I think they're the better team from a better league, and that makes a lot of sense. Total 2.5. This one juiced a little bit more to under. We saw a 1-1 draw in the first leg. We did see a Real Betis goal to equalize that was ruled out, and then they got another to equalize. So we'll see if that does anything to dictate goals being scored in this matchup. I would expect Sporting Braga of the lower budget, smaller league to be more defensive away from home, even though that's not really exactly how they want to play. I think from a Real Betis perspective, they want to dominate this game, and they're going to do that from the beginning. And that makes backing the underdog only getting a half a goal look really, really difficult, even when extra time in the last few minutes usually means teams are conservative instead of seeing that late goal, which is honestly a lot of times a really good thing. But you can also say that's generally something to worry about when you have a +1.5 or +1 or +1.25 underdog, not one of only a half of a goal, because you really want some team that's ahead of the match in the match to just waste the time, take the air out of the ball, and take it to the next round. In terms of two advanced numbers, so we do have 1-1. So this is all coming down to Thursday, the 16th of April. But Real Betis -250 to advance, +207 on Sporting Braga. Unfortunately, I don't have the matchup numbers for to advance from first leg because I did not know they were playing on Wednesday last week and completely missed the start of that one. So probably biggest interest for me is seeing goals in a lot of these matches, which is rare. Longtime Patreon subscriber Joe Dollar would tell you I'm an underdog player. He wants me to go to the other side of things, and it's kind of where I'm at with the second leg of these knockout matches because there's really not great scenarios for seeing low scoring games. I was trying to get the Europa Conference League into the show as well, but I didn't finish the matches. It's already 12:45 local time. Got to be at my desk in 6 hours and 45 minutes. So I hope you all will accept what I've got in front of me. And thank you, of course, for paying attention, coming on in, and all those sort of things. So for the ultimate best bet on this episode, before we get there, I want to shout out the Betting Pitch Soccer Podcast. We'll be doing a European leagues, top 5 leagues, England, Spain, Italy, Germany, France for this weekend. That'll be coming out hopefully tomorrow night on Thursday. Didn't not great at that lately. I've been coming out on Friday, but I'm trying to do this on Thursday because I don't think I have any plans tomorrow. Also, I'm trying to find a way to get A Brooks Bets back on the Major League Baseball podcast on this channel. Hit him up at A Brooks Bets on Twitter if you want to hear more Major League Baseball takes, maybe with a co-host instead of by myself on the What I Bet pregame now feed straight out of Vegas AM. If you're not subscribed there, go check that out. I'll be making my return to that podcast channel sometime soon. Just need to, I don't know, find some time to sleep in this world. But that'll be coming soon. And likely we'll have an episode tomorrow going through Friday, trying to get a big baseball card out there. And of course, the start of the European weekend across the soccer pitch. And then we'll be planning to cover a lot of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Might have a debut episode because I haven't covered any hockey on the Betting Pitch Podcast Network, but that could come soon at the Real Georgie Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. And let's go through our best bet opportunities for ultimate best bet on this episode. So, really, the two choices to me were a 1-goal underdog in Bologna going on the road as a big deficit, or with a big deficit on the road at Aston Villa. +1 in Bologna is really nice because I like that push. Other one is Nottingham Forest and FC Porto, 1-1 on aggregate after the first leg, going under 2.25 goals. And that's what I'm going to choose for my ultimate best bet on this episode. Let's go Nottingham Forest, FC Porto, under 2.25. We'll see you on the next episode, Betting the Pitch. Make sure you hit subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you all really soon.